Hi, everybody. So, I can't have no idea what yesterday's trivia question was. I was thinking about it just now because I looked up today's trivia question. I have a good one, so you have to stay tuned for that. But I don't know what today's is or yesterday's was. If somebody could remember or has looked and could tell me, then I can tell you the answer to the question. It's just like Jeopardy. What was the question? If you want to know the answer to the trivia question again, let me know what it was because I have forgotten. Maybe it'll come to me, and maybe it won't. Who knows? This old brain of mine, I don't know. Good morning. So today I want to tell a quick little story. So once upon a time there was a king, and he had a son, and this dog, look at this dog. And he was very cute, just like that dog. Yes, exactly, Joe. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt my flow, but Joe says maybe if you give me the answer to the trivia question, I can remember what the question was and tell you if you were right. Anything. Help me, people. Anything. You remember what the question was yesterday? I feel like I shake the table and it looks like there's an earthquake, but there isn't. Okay, so very quickly, once upon a time there was a king, and this king was a very great king, and he had a son, and the wise men said, this son will be a great man. He will either be a great spiritual leader, or he will be a great emperor, a king, and ruler of empires. So this father, being sort of a macho man, wanted a great emperor, and back in those olden days, all the spiritual leaders lived in the woods and didn't eat and were covered with dirt. So he didn't want that. So he decided that the way to make sure that his son became a great emperor, not a holy man, was to protect him from any kind of observation of poverty or anything like that, anything that might motivate him to care about other people. So he lived in a cocoon for most of his young life, never saw any poverty or sickness or death. And then one day he was traveling somewhere and he saw some poverty and sickness and death. And he said, oh no, I've got to do something about this, because he was a very kind-hearted guy. And of course, so he went out and tried to figure it out. And he talked to a bunch of people. Excuse me, pardon me. I needed that. So he talked to wise people, and he tried different this, that, and the other thing. And finally, he just sat down under a tree and said, I'm going to sit here until I figure it out. And of course, this guy's the Buddha. So he sat there for a long time, many, many days, and he had achieved enlightenment. And what he realized was that the secret to ending suffering was to not be attached to life, not to be attached to the result. In a very, very, very deep way. I mean, he's talking about complete detachment ends all suffering. In other words, pain happens, but that's don't worry. I don't know what that is. Oh, Shelly's making a shake. Pain happens and is not optional, but suffering is optional. And it's basically our expectation, and that's actually what I'm going to get to. So a lot of people say, well, that kind of approach, that means if you just accept everything the way it is, then you won't change anything. That's not true. You can work to change things in the Buddhist philosophy, but it's a matter of not being attached to the result, or not really being in an argument with what is, not being in an argument with what is. Now, I find, and let me tell a quick other thing that I heard that was great. There is the guy was being interviewed by I don't know who on something. I don't know what I was listening to. I should really make sure I look at sources so I can tell you about them. But it might have been the Tim Ferriss show or something like that. The guy who invented Ruby on Rails, and also Basecamp, whose name escapes me. He's also a race car driver, and he was talking about, and I thought it was a great point, he was talking about expectation. So the best time he had race car driving was the first year, when he first started. And he had a great time. He didn't expect it to be anything. And then the next time, the next year, he expected to win. And he did. He came in second. And he was completely miserable because he expected to win the whole thing. So the expectation of what's going to happen really affects the way you enjoy things. If you expect to win, then you don't, you might not enjoy the game. If you expect to lose, which I do whenever I play anything, you really enjoy it. That's when I love one of the reasons I love basketball is I don't expect my dog is insisting that I scratch his butt. I know, oversharing. So that's why the song is going like this, because I'm scratching his butt. I am. I know this is very intimate, and I apologize. So the issue is, or the way to think about things is to not become attached to the result in such a way that you're emotionally devastated. And so, an example, from my life is that when I throw up a shot at the basket, I really am very, very pleasantly surprised when it goes in. It's just such a great thing when it goes in. Now, I'm a pretty good shot with a basketball, but I have friends that I play basketball with, and when they shoot and they miss, they go, "Oh, Doug! God, what's wrong with you?" They're talking to themselves. "Jamie! Ah!" And when I put it in, I just go, "Oh, thank God, thank all the universe that gravity works the way it does." So anyway, that's my advice: is to really look at your expectation, and you don't have to go all the way and just reject and think that everything is an illusion. Dog, my dog is like attacking me. He really, 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 really wants me to pay attention to him. He's very insistent. He's very large. He's like a giant. He's like a cow in a barrel. So that is the thing to remember today. That's my little word of wisdom. Is look at what your expectation is, because if you expect something to be different than it is, and that's really where the practical side is. If you go into a situation and you're upset with the way things are, it's very, very, very difficult to be effective and to change something. I realized a very long time ago that if you have a conversation with someone where you start off with, "Listen, here's the thing. I don't like the way you are, so I'd like you to change." So you've already lost them at, "I don't like the way you are." Well, if you don't like the way I am, heck, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. If you go in and say, "I love you. I think you're fantastic, and this is something that I would like you to change, or this is something you should work on. I accept you, but I think you'd be happier this way." And that's what I'm saying to you. I accept you, but I think you'd be happier this way. When you can spend a lot of time being in an argument with reality, and I highly recommend that you do not do that. Being honest with yourself is part of it, but really being honest or be accepting the way things are is really the first step in changing. If you don't accept the things the way they are and you think that they should be a different way, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Then if they should be a different way, then you're already starting out upset. You're upset with reality. Being upset with reality is the way most people are, but I highly recommend not being upset with reality. Say, "This is reality, and I'm going to accept that this is reality in the sense that I'm not going to be upset as my beginning state. I'm going to say, this is reality, and I'm going to maybe work to change it." But so, for instance, if you're overweight and you are upset about that, to the extent that you dislike yourself, it's very, very, very difficult to start from a place of disliking yourself to do anything positive. Now, I'm shaking like this because, for those of you who joined a little late, because I am scratching my dog's back. He's insisting on it, and he weighs about 70 pounds. And I have accepted that. Rather than being upset with the fact that he likes to have his butt scratched, I am accepting it. And thus, we're all happier. I'm just concerned that it looks like I have some kind of shaking disease or something like that. I'm worried about your expectations. Okay, so here's the trivia question, and again, now that I have a smaller or larger audience, if anybody can remember what the trivia question from yesterday is, I would really appreciate it. Shelley, did you watch it? Shelley didn't even watch my podcast. I mean, my broadcast yesterday, so she can't help. What about the dog? Were you paying attention? Oh, he doesn't speak English. He's a French dog. So the question today is, what is the oldest college in the United States? Is Harvard. Harvard. The third oldest is Yale. What is the second oldest college in the United States? And I'll give you a small hint. It's named after two monarchs. Okay. I want you to go out and have a great day. Please accept everything. You'll be happier. Oh my God. Say goodbye, Porthos.
Goodbye, Porthos!